Citizens wishing to be heard on topics not listed on the agenda may speak under item C. Citizens may be given an opportunity to speak during discussion of items listed on the agenda and are allowed 3 minutes for comments. Disruptive discussion or profanity will not be allowed. Roll call of officers.
King is excused. Price?
Here.
Streeter?
Here.
Stutz is also excused. Will?
Here. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizen participation. Citizens are to address the board only. Statements are limited to 3 minutes. The board may not respond to items not listed on the agenda. However, you may ask for an item to be placed on future agendas. Any citizen wishing to be heard? No. Announcements, communications. Any announcements or communications? All right, president's business and staff reports. Library, Heather?
All right, thank you. On February 21st, we had our paint night, and the theme was Magnolias. And if you would like to see some of the photos from that, go on to our Facebook page. You can view the awesome paintings that came out of that paint night event with Alice Tzakis. On this Thursday, I will be meeting with the Fond du Lac County directors. And the next event we're going to be pulling things together for is our annual book sale, which begins National Library Week, which is April 8th. We'll run it through the 24th, so we'll be gathering items for that. And we may try to squeeze another paint event if we can before summer reading program gets kicked off. We do have tax forms at the library for anyone who would like a physical copy. And our book club will meet on Saturday, March 16th, and we're reading Pearl of China. That's all I have.
Thanks, Heather.
Yeah.
Administrator Nick?
Thank you. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week, we have our general fund financial audit. We had our utility financial audit a couple weeks ago, if you recall. So last week, actually the last couple weeks, along with the beginning of this week, is busy getting ready for that, getting all the reports, taking all the care of all the journal entries to make sure that 2018 expenses and revenues are all correct before they pulled the data on Friday for that audit. So we have to make sure our accounting software's got everything fixed before they pull that data, because we end up paying 2018 invoices through February, so we have to kind of get those back into the right year. So that'll happen this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's always a busy time for us. Continue to work on the union contract. We're pretty much done with those discussions and I just kind of held off here with the shortage of board members tonight, so we'll talk about that probably the next meeting. I did meet with a vendor last week where our postage machine up front is out of it. Its lease is coming to an end, so we're looking at our options there. Absentee ballots were picked up last week, and for those that had requested them be mailed out to them, those went out in the mail today. And also continue to work on some IT-related issues. Some of this has to do with the squad videos. There's a number of other issues going on with IT, so I work with RMM, who's our contract. We have a contract with RMM to take care of that. But a lot of work on our end to kind of get things cleaned up here. There's some server space issues that we're dealing with now, partially related to the squad videos. So just trying to work our way through that and figure out where we want to add that space and how we want to add that space. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Nick. Police Department, Darren?
Thank you. Officers are continuing to work a lot of overtime right now due to the staffing shortage, but the good news is that both of the officers that are in field training are doing well, progressing nicely, so there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Just the tunnel's kind of long at this point, but we're going to get there. As Nick mentioned, we have been looking into some issues with the arbitrator camera in particular. I had put in my weekly report that the issue was equipment. We need to replace the wireless access point. Since then, an issue has cropped up with at least one of the cameras in one of the cars, which is more of a programming issue. So I reached out to Baycom today, so hopefully we can get those things all worked out, those little glitches, and get everything working properly here soon. I had also mentioned in last week's report that we finally got back a final offer from Dell for the purchase of the semi-rugged MDCs. This year, making that switch, we're going to save about $4,000, which is huge considering we have to replace all the docking stations as well. So looking to the future, this is probably going to save us a considerable amount of money, and I think in the end, it's going to be a much better product for us and for our needs. So continue to work on that, and I think that's it.
Hey Darren, how's the parking been going, like with snow removal?
Actually, it's been a really good year in terms of compliance. The number of tickets that we're issuing for the parking issues is way down compared to previous years. So that's a good thing.
And when does that end?
Ends March 15th.
Okay. All right, thank you. EMS Fire, Jake.
Thank you. I just want to give you guys a heads up that we did respond with an ambulance to the mass casualty incident on I-41 in the town of Inland. I did make the decision to staff the secondary ambulance because I didn't know how long of a time frame we were going to be up there. We ended up transporting one person to an area hospital up in that area. So Adam and I are planning on attending the after-action review on the 27th of March. So it's like a 3.5-hour discussion on how things went for that incident, and it kind of gives us an idea of the goods and the bads that came out of it in case something like that were to happen in our area, which on that day was, you know, highly likely because of the winds that were blowing the snow across 41. On the 30th of March, Eric Westby and I are going to go to a conference in Wausau that deals with leadership. It's a gentleman from Texas that comes and puts on a presentation at a pretty low cost about different areas of leadership and so on and so forth. A lot of it has to do with recruitment and retention. And lastly, we have our Brat Fry on Saturday, March 9th, so this weekend. It starts at 10 a.m. and ends at 3:30 p.m. Theta Star is planning on coming down around noon, so they should be here around then. And they'll be across Jefferson, the corner of Jefferson and Prospect, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yep.
Public Works, Darren.
Thank you. Just recently, we've had a couple of main breaks, one up on Center Street and one again over the weekend here on Clinton Street. So the crew's been busy with those, along with still trying to remove snow, and now we're gonna be looking at rain this weekend, so we'll be out exposing catch basins again. I've been pretty busy with our Tier 2 chemical reports with Wisconsin Emergency Management, and also with our off-site plan for our chlorine storage that we have in multiple locations with Fond du Lac County Emergency Government. One of the other things, the VFD on Booster Pump 1 is in and working. The old unit is currently down at ABB getting diagnosed with what failed on it, and as soon as I hear something on that, I'll report that to the board. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Moving down to the consent agenda, number 1, approve the minutes of the following village board meeting from February 18, 2019. Approve invoices and authorize checks to be drawn on the respective funds as indicated. General fund, $104,287.69. Library fund, $412.11. EMS fund, $1,485.82. Capital projects, $4,916.92. Water department, $2,548.62. Wastewater department, $317,116.39. Community Development Authority, TIF, $94,670.61. Stormwater fund, $50.35, for a grand total of $525,488.51. And also to approve the following operator's license for Kaylin Cooley for Charlie's at from 90 Warner Street. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion by Will, got a second by Price to approve the consent agenda as read. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Administrative. Number 1, discussion of possible action on allowing North Fond du Lac Optimist Club to use the community center, 280 Garfield Street for the annual Easter egg hunt.
I can take that, thank you. I did a write-up in there. Every year, the Optimist Club requests use of the community center for their annual Easter egg hunt, which is always the Saturday preceding Easter Sunday. We discussed it in the office, and we pretty much blocked that time out for them every year anyway, so we thought it'd be appropriate to just have the board approve of that indefinitely until there's an issue. Every year for that Saturday prior to Easter from 8 to noon, that the Optimist Club's allowed to use the community center free of charge.
Does anybody have any questions or comment regarding this item? All right. Can I get we need a motion on that?
I would like one, yeah.
Can I get a motion to allow the North Fond du Lac Optimist Club to continue using the community center for the annual Easter egg hunt?
I'll make a motion to let the Optimist Club use the community center for their annual Easter egg hunt.
I'll second. We've got a motion by Price, second by Streeter to approve the Optimist using the community center for the Easter egg hunt. Any questions?
Just for indefinitely.
Indefinitely.
Yep, thank you.
Did you want, what was it, second?
It's the, excuse me,
What is the day again?
it's the Saturday, this year it's April 20th, but it's always the Saturday right before Easter Sunday, the day
Do
before
you want,
Easter.
do you want that in the motion?
No, that's fine, we
Okay.
understand.
All right, so if there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Number 2, discussion and possible action on the hiring of Taylor Gulowski as the part-time janitor.
This is more of a formality. We did hire Taylor. She started, sorry, I'm gonna flip pages here, get the wrong one. Started on February 20th, a couple weeks ago. We interviewed 3 people. We had about 20 applications, interviewed 3, and offered Taylor the job, and she passed all her work steps and everything, and she started on February 20th, obviously, and she's been doing a great job, and this is just, we're starting her on the position, the pay grade of field and office support positions. It's 0-0, there's a 0-0-0, then a 1, 2, 3, and works its way up. This is at 0-0-A on that wage scale.
Can I get a motion to approve Taylor Gulowski as a part-time janitor? What's that?
Do we have to do that?
Do you need a motion on that? Can I get a motion to approve Taylor as a part-time janitor?
Do you have a question?
Maybe we answer that.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve Taylor as the part-time janitor. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Mike?
Sure, I mean, what are the hours gonna be, and, it's gonna be more started off with, or maybe it's gonna have?
So it's 20 hours a week. She's currently working 1:30 to 5:30, 5 days a week. So she gets to the community center library and works in the police department while they're still here. And after 4:30, she does this building, hallways, bathrooms.
Well, that's a good thing that she's working, you guys have up to that.
Yep, that was requirements that we had.
Okay. Very positive.
Fill that void, or fill that role.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Ordinances, discussion and possible action on ordinance 2019-4, and ordinance amending the Village of North Fond du Lac ordinance 9.14 and 9.15, safety from fire and smoke detectors. Jake?
Yeah, so we made actually Peter Fetters made the changes that we discussed at the last meeting. We did find some more information about the fire protection systems.
But
So,
Jake, let's just do the 914 first,
okay.
and then we can get that. So the 914, it was only that number 2. You recall that the title and the first sentence were exactly the same. We got rid of the first sentence because it really didn't make much sense, and you pointed out it really wasn't even a sentence. So we bolded the title. That's really the only change in that one. So now it's 9.14, 1 and 2 instead of 915 is completely gone.
And this is just the first
Just the
reading?
first reading, correct.
You have anything else, Jake, or?
Sorry,
No,
Chief.
no.
That was just item one.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's not any questions or comments on this one, then this is first reading, so no action required. Number two, discussion and possible action on ordinance 2019-5, ordinance creating Village of North Falling, Chapter 17, fires and prevention, fires and fire prevention, and amending 14.01, first reading.
I mean, it's essentially the same, other than the minor changes that we made. They're all in red, as you can see. We did add in inspectable buildings that are detailed in SBS 314.01. So instead of listing them all, it's underneath that state statute.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Jake?
Sheet that you.
Yep.
provided for us, but I guess I don't really understand what
Yep, so NFPA 25 states that if a system is out of service for more than 10 hours in a 24-hour period, that, or less than, so it has to be less than, then we don't have to be notified. If it's more than 10 hours, then we should be notified. Now, we would prefer to be a little bit more strict than that and say, you know, as it reads in the current ordinance, that it's being proposed, saying that if it's taken out of service, that we should be notified. So if there's going to be service on it, or there's damage to it, that we should be notified, you know, prior to that. Well, obviously if it's broken, right once it gets broken, or if they have service, that we should be notified 48 hours in advance. So that way, you know, we kinda know what's going on if there were to be an emergency at that facility. So it kinda reads the same. You can see what the city says, and I've picked out a handful of other fire departments, and it pretty much resembles the cities, whereas they would prefer that they're notified if it has to go out of service for any reason. So that's what I would prefer. You know,
So
if they were to leave, the maintenance company or the company that's servicing that particular system, if they were to leave the premises, we, within those 10 hours, and we're not notified, there could be, you know, obviously that miscommunication there, and if there is legitimately a fire and their system's not working, that could pose a significant hazard.
And Jake, you're gonna contact other businesses regarding when these are all passed?
Yeah, I think it would be good to do. So, yeah, we'll figure out a way to get that out to them.
Was it Mike?
I guess what reaches, if it's gonna be like 10 hours or less, this is how it's reached, but you want it more restrictive than that.
Correct, yeah.
I'm just looking at service work. I mean, if all these companies that do service work, are they gonna have to notify these departments? And sometimes you want a heads up, like 48-hour notice. Is that realistic for these companies to do that? Most of it's just service work, and I understand if they know the system's gonna be down, they gotta notify you guys. I mean, I get that, but if it's just standard service, the quarterly, or the 6-month, or the 9-month, or the yearly service, I mean, are you expecting like GFA and all these other sprinkler companies to notify you?
Well, the business should. So typically those are scheduled out. So you know when they're coming in to do the service work, and they should be notifying us that they're doing that. If they're taking pressure out of the system, then we should be notified. That's kinda how I look at it. Cause it's not gonna function then.
I
The
get
system's
that.
not gonna work,
I
so.
mean, flow tests and stuff like that, I mean, it's
Yeah.
still pressurized, but is that?
To a point, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of, I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
is that realistic? I don't see that, I mean, maybe North Fond du Lac, we don't have that many, but the city of Fond du Lac, you know, at this point, I don't see that being enforced at the city of Fond du Lac. For maintenance, I understand, if there's an issue, you guys gotta be notified. Just go fire
Yeah,
department. I get
I
that.
mean, I think it's on a basis on, you know, if there's an emergency and the system's down, they can go back and look at this and say that you guys never notified us that you're going to do maintenance when you should have, and from now on, you should notify us if you don't currently, if that makes sense.
I'm just looking at the school system, the railroad, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of,
No, I
Village of
mean,
North Fond du Lac do you notify? You have no sprinklers or no fire suppression systems?
so obviously our biggest one is Northgate, that has sprinklers in it, so between that, Ziegler's got sprinklers, both the clinics have sprinklers.
Some of the
There's
apartments.
Apartment buildings that have sprinklers. Most buildings that have sprinklers have a high life hazard that we encounter if there's an emergency.
And this is the same as the city's, correct, this section?
Yep, I think I.
Oh, yeah.
copied it, yeah.
I didn't read that yet.
Any other questions, Mike?
When you talked to the city about this issue, what did they have to say about it?
50-50, I guess, shot if they're being notified or not. You know, it's hard for them to go out and look at, obviously they can go look at the tags and see, you know, when it was last inspected and if they were notified, so. But it
I
can be
do get it
challenging
once
to get
it's-
done, you
Once
know.
they know it's not working, they gotta notify you, but
Yeah.
just the regular inspections and service work, I don't quite get that one. It's just me. I mean, we can, perfect world, they like to do a lot of things, but, okay.
Any other questions for Jake? Alright, so it's first reading, so there's no action required.
Yeah, as long as everybody was good with the, I know there was a lot of discussion last time, and I do have the sections noted here if we wanted to go through them, but we did make the changes in red, and as long as everybody was satisfied with those changes. I think it clarified.
Go through and.
Oh, we can go through real quick. 17022 is the first one. The question was about, it just said personnel shall inspect or cause to be inspected all premises, and it was a little vague, so we added as provided by SPS 31401, which is inspectable buildings. Make sense? Those are the buildings we actually do inspections on. Okay, 17082 would have been the next one. 17082, sorry.
More of a sentence.
Yeah, and I apologize, the one I printed is not in color, so I can't see them. Oh, it was at the end,
Yeah.
except as provided
Yep.
below, because it was kind of saying, could ever take it out, yeah. So that explained that. 1710-9. This was confusing. It was talking about the space underneath these structures, and it was confusing the way it read, so we took it out, saying use and maintenance of space under structures, and it further goes on to say the space under those structures. So I think it cleaned it up, didn't it?
Yeah.
1712-4 would have been the next one that I had on my list. There was just a duplicate. 4 and 5 were the same. We got rid of 5. And then 1715 sub 1. What was that one?
Where you added over 30 gallons.
Correct, on your number C, or letter C there. It was a kind of a duplication of A, so we made that, people can have those 20 and 30 pounders up for camping. So we've said anything over 30, they're supposed to have a permit for. Those were the changes.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Just clarify, I'm gonna go back to, I think it's 1708. You know, look, I think it's D. When
Okay.
water supply to a building is interrupted or disconnected, the owner shall provide an adequate pump-in connections and maintain the building in such manner that North Fond du Lac Fire can pump adequate water to a system for fire control. How
Yeah,
would-
that's
How would you
essentially-
do that? I mean, let's say if this building or another building that your main feed coming into the building would rupture, how would you expect that company or that business to provide an adequate? What if it's
Well,
not in
they'd have
place?
to
What if
fix
it's-
the
what if it's-
problem.
I understand it, but it's like,
That's what it's saying.
okay.
Like, you just can't go in there and put a you know, flex tubing or something in there. It's gotta be whatever the
Or
system
disconnected.
requires.
Okay, I was just thinking like a water main break, but it just, to me, it's almost.
Well, yeah, that's what it's saying, but a water main break, it's providing an adequate pump-in connection, right? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
pump-in connection for the truck, so that if they don't have water service to the building, it's providing an adequate connection to,
But how would that owner do that?
well, that's part of the system, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the
No,
outside.
Coming into the building, I mean,
That whole system is interconnected.
Yeah, there's a.
You know, and the other
connection
thing-
right
I'm
out.
talking about the main feed coming into the building. The
Well, yeah, but that's what they're saying, if that breaks,
Yeah.
they need to provide an adequate pump-in connection, which is always on the outside of the building for these sprinkler systems.
To hook the pumper to,
What's that?
to hook the pumper to feed water to the building.
Okay, let's say it doesn't, have a sprinkler system at this building.
Then they don't need it. This is about buildings with sprinkler systems, right?
You're right. Fire extinguisher equipment, okay, all right.
Any other questions? All right, seeing no other questions, first reading, so no action required. Moving down to communications, anybody have any communications? Any new business? Any motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. You have a motion by Price, second by Streeter to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so done.